Welcome to Wheels, Deals, and Meals, where we talk all things good food, good business, and good cars. And now, here is your host, Arnold Garcia, founder and CEO of Petra Automotive Products. Let's roll.
I'm excited today to have John Traver on the show with us of Traver Connect and many other businesses and endeavors that this guy's been involved with. I feel like we're becoming very close friends throughout the years, but it's funny because we barely met a few years ago on a bus of an event that was put together with some other automotive business guys.
Thanks for the bus ticket, by the way.
And anyway, JT and I kind of hit it off in that bus and realized that we had a lot of things in common, and so little by little it's grown, and I appreciate you being on the show. I'm excited to have you on the show.
Love you, buddy.
And I can't wait to get your Taylor.
I gave you, okay, I'm going to read.
You gave it to me. I just
I'm reintroducing you, man. He's a good man, too.
I know.
Thank you.
I know.
It is such a gift to spend time with you anywhere.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it.
And I'm digging Wheels, Meals, and Deals. I've watched all but the last one, and I just think it's insightful. It's fun. The people are very interesting, and I hope everybody in your audience is enjoying it.
Well, you're gonna be one of those interesting ones as well. You know, we started the show kind of for fun with our clients and customers. It's exploded into this. People want to see the food more. We get these letters and comments, talk about the food. What about the restaurant? That guy was great. Bring him on the show again. So our number one show has gotten 12,000 play.
Wow.
Over 1,200 views.
Wow.
A combination of viewing through YouTube and the podcast.
Yeah.
So it's grown crazy. We're doing 5 or 6 taping this week.
Yeah.
It's just
Unbelievable.
It's incredible. With the list of people waiting. Restaurants more,
Wow.
saying, hey, use our place, use our place, use our place. And so it's really become this great thing. And of course, we got a great camera guy and director that really makes us look better than we probably are.
Definitely. And that's hard. That's hard to do, right?
Yeah. So listen, so one of the things that I wanted to do in this podcast too is, typically in our world, and not just our automotive world watches the show, but in our world, people kind of know who JT is. And I say kind of because we know the successful JT. But I want to talk a little bit about where you came from, right? So where is JT from? Where were you born? How did you get in this business?
Yeah, it's funny when you talk about the successful JT. Isn't it ironic how it's easy to talk about our success, but we never really talk about our failures?
We don't.
Yeah, and I would just be the first to say I have plenty of those.
And very few people want to talk about it or be asked about it.
Yeah,
but you're right.
Yeah, no, plenty of failures. So I was adopted at 7. I grew up in southeastern Wisconsin. I was John Richard Rose. And lived in a foster home. I remember it clearly, probably year 4, year 5, I remember real clear. It was a great adoption process. That's how I became part of the Traver family. So my namesake, John Traver. Went from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we were on 41st Street, real close to Miller Brewing, one of the old factories. And so we would hit baseballs and into the old broken windows if we could hit a hole, kind of thing. And then I go to North Prairie, Wisconsin, no lie, population 686. It was about 45 minutes out of Milwaukee, and it's a small farming town. My dad was a police officer there. He also worked for the state of Wisconsin. We had a small farm surrounded by bigger farms. I went from being the youngest at the foster home to being the oldest. I was one of 2 boys. I went to being the only boy. I mean, everything just changed. And so that's kind of how life started for me. I actually think those things spoke into my life as I look back. Created flexibility. I didn't require this absolute rigid environment. And I could see the goodness of God in my life early as I looked back. I didn't know God as a young boy. But as I look back, brother, I just saw how God provided for me, covered me. And didn't even know it was happening back then. So yeah, grew up on a small farm, and going through school, end up in the car business early, paying my way through college.
What was your position?
Well, I started
that first car business, what was your position?
Salesperson.
Salesperson.
Yeah.
Like all good people in the other one.
Yeah, I was a salesperson. And full disclosure, how did I get here? What am I doing here? What did I do wrong to deserve this? I remember interviewing with my girlfriend's dad. He was at the Honda store. And I thought, I had a friend who had graduated college already. He was like, hey, you're going to love selling Hondas. This is 1986. And you're not really selling Hondas. You're taking orders. If you've been in the car business long, you're not really selling Honda. So anyways, he does the disc profile. Have you ever done disc?
No.
Dominance, influence.
Yeah.
Okay. So the dominance, influence, steadiness, compliance, and most least, and 26 boxes.
Right.
Well, so I would go on, and years later, I'd be training that thing to thousands of people. Okay, true story. But so he does it, and he has me come back, and he had a parts driver job that I was really interested in because I could still go to school. So I come back and he said, well, good news, bad news. He said, the bad news is the parts driver job is filled. Good news is you'll make a great salesperson. And I mean, I could just feel my skin curl. I was like, holy, I cannot believe you're doing this to me, Bob. And so he starts explaining. He said, look, I see this in you, how you are with people. And, he kind of sold me on the idea. So I said, well, I can see myself selling Hondas. And he goes, oh, no. I was dating his daughter. And he goes, there's no way I could have you here. But Jim Garvey at the Dodge store is hiring. So I started at Wild Dodge in Waukesha, Wisconsin. And I interviewed with him.
Well, that's crazy.
Yes, true story.
Hey, we're going to give you a job. It's not going to be this one. And by the way, you're not going to work for me.
Correct.
You're going down the road.
I got involved there. And so one of the other things that I look back and I think was big about the Dodge store was the training. So there was no training. And I had guys that were old enough to be my dad that were on the floor. I was the youngest guy. And I had, the son of Bob Doyle, who interviewed me at Honda. His son sold for him, was my age, was a peer. And he's like, I was like, hey, Sean, there's no training. And he's like, just whatever they do the opposite. And I was like, okay, that's pretty general. He's take all the product manuals home with you, study everything, learn the product. Okay. That was the training. So the first week or two, I don't know, it was 10 days, I didn't sell anything. And I remember my girlfriend coming in to see me on a Saturday, and Dick Hattenauer, who's the GSM, paged me. I go into the desk, and he's like, she needs to leave, and you need to sell a car, or you need to hit the brakes. You're gone. And that was when I got in the car business. That moment is in my head, because Dick was your classic, Hattenauer was your classic throwback guy. It was in your face, it was very demeaning. And I think at that point, I just thought, you know what, if this guy can do that.
Old car school guy.
Yeah, I wonder what I could do in this industry if I just lock in. That was when I started, literally in that moment. The next month, not bragging, I was salesman of the month the next month. But I was determined basically to prove to Dick that I belong. And I 16 cars, 18 cars. It wasn't like a 50 car month. But I locked in. And so from there, I got into a little bit of management, a little bit of F&I, and then started a company. That company basically got me into operations at Russ Darrow Group. So Russ Darrow was another dealer in Wisconsin, bigger, as big as Wild. But I was now working out of the corporate offices. I was director of training operations. So he had a dozen stores. So I did everything, not just sales, not just service, parts, receptionist, everything. And that was a great macro for me to learn the business. A couple of years, Pat Ryan comes into Milwaukee with ADC, Automotive Development Center. So Dave O'Brien, who you know with Quantum,
right.
So Dave worked for ADC back then.
Okay.
And they were wanting to hire me. And I wasn't sure which way I was going to go because Russ is like, well, look, what you're doing now we can displace with this, but you could run a store for us. And I looked at the training. They had just bought Key Royal training. And Key Royal for about a decade was phenomenal. They were very famous. But when I looked at it, brother, it was sort of outdated at that point. It was still kind of how to appraise a trade and withhold the keys. It was throwing the keys on the roof kind of mentality. And I'm like, the consumers are way on to everything you're doing. This is not how you want to treat them. But I was the young guy. And what I saw, and I'll just tell you, I saw an outdated sales process. And I was trying to discern whether or not...
Just to put some time frames, so how long into you starting the automotive business did you realize this is outdated?
Oh, it was immediate, but before I could voice it, I'll tell you what happened. Chrysler, this is Dodge store, they would have these required Mopar courses you had to send service or parts to. Nobody ever wanted to go. So what they didn't realize, they were giving me a master's degree in business operations for a dealership, because they would always go, send Traver, he'll go. So they go, hey, we need you to go to a service workshop.
That guy, he'll go to any training.
I went to everything. And I love to learn. And I was like, yeah, I'll go. Yeah, I'll go. Okay, well, you're going to be up Florida for that. That's okay. All right, well, you don't get your off day. That's okay. And so in basically 3 years, the Ryan guys would come in and visit us for F&I. I could hold a conversation with them. And that's how I ended up doing a little F&I too. So anyways, I learned quick, but it was about 4 years where I could sit with anybody and pretty much have an intelligent conversation around what's broke, what we probably need to do to fix it, why that's not the right way to do it. This might be a better way to sell it. I didn't have all the answers, but I definitely knew where the bodies were.
But that gave you the opportunity to actually touch every piece of the dealership, even if you didn't master it yet.
Yeah.
You didn't know it 100% yet. You were able to touch.
Yeah.
And it's funny because send me. We talk a lot about the young people today, right? Paying the price. You were paying the price. You were saying, send me, I'll go. Oh, you're not going to pay me this day? That's fine. Let me go anyway.
So the word you just said, though, opportunity, who's watching this that can boast about where they are, short of remembering the opportunities they've been given?
Absolutely.
I mean, the fact that we have two hands, that we have eyes and a brain, and all this is a gift. And the people that have been placed in our path, it's all a gift. And you begin to see, you don't really get there completely on your own. Yes, there is a part you have to do, all right? Kind of faith without works is dead mentality, right? But what do we have that hasn't been given to us?
Somebody didn't grab your hand or showed you something or opened a door, gave you an opportunity.
Those guys, they could have been absolute tools. They could have been absolute tools. But there were the Bob Doyles of the world or the Jim Garveys of the world said, hey, this kid, let's invest in this kid. Let's see what he does with this. So I think that happens for all of us every day. So that was kind of the beginning. So at Rustero, we had a general manager that he cut loose. And I actually liked the guy. He had a lot of Irish in him. He literally was Irish. But I liked the guy. And so he goes back to the East Coast. And Russ has me running this Toyota store in West Bend as an interim GM. And it's a one-car showroom. It's his first dealership, 1966 building, literally. Toyota in West Bend. And like, we're still cutting our teeth on Toyota. It's a domestic market. This is 1989-ish. Okay, and I'm like, oh, here comes the party. Hello. Bang Bang Shrimp it's over the top good. I mean, you won't find it better than this. Here we go. Here's the man.
Oh, my God.
Mr. Dale, this is unbelievable. The shrimp is over the top. Running this store, we got no traffic. And so for me, all the phone training I'd done with new hires and stuff, that's where the BDC came into play for me. Right. So there was no BDC. Tom Stuker had a phone room, okay? And, I didn't know much about it.
How old are you at this point?
Let's see. This is 89. I'm 23-ish. Something like that. Yeah. My pants were on fire, buddy.
A few years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now at 35,
Yeah, right. It's,
ish.
At least a decade.
Ish, right? So, no, what am I? 57. So, okay.
I love that. You could tell the passion today. I can only imagine then, right? Because you're talking about this like if you just thought about it today. You have this passion. You loved it. You got it. You understood it. You saw that this was missing. You can tell that passion.
It's there because yes. Then was a couple things. Number one, turnover was sky high with salespeople. Okay, salespeople were making their living off of fresh showroom traffic. There was you guys didn't have a mentality, is what I was saying. We don't have a mentality to make sure they have a diet of appointment business and sprinkled with fresh ups. It's all fresh ups. Hardest to close, lowest grossing, take the most time, least loyal, and that's all they're eating. Well, no wonder they're leaving, man. And you guys aren't teaching these guys how to balance it. Number two, you listen to them on the phones. It's horrible. Number three, we were in an era at that point, late 80s. So in 1982, you had 200 vehicles and models you could choose from in the US. By 1986, you had 600 per JD Powers, Shopping Dynamics. By the fall of 1992, you had 909 vehicles and models to choose from. So what I was saying is, hey, team, look, the consumer has more choices. So those of you that are Jackie B. Cooper people, which was the old famous trainer in automotive, if you hadn't been around, but he would teach, closing percentages would be this, and everybody buys a car in 5 days. Well, that was no longer true, because when you have more choices, you need to take more time. You also had Consumer Reports, Motor Trend, Car and Driver, Road and Track. So you have consumers now are educating themselves and they know what the car costs. So when you begin to add those together, that means more time. So if more time, we need to adjust our approach so that we get our share, which means we're not going to close them all in the first visit, right? So that is where I began to go to work, and I was like, okay, first of all, how we record guest information is all wrong, because we asked for a number with all these B-backs, and then we're unspecific. So we get a number, and guess what number it is? It's their home number. So guess when I make my follow-up calls? During the day. Guess where people aren't during the day? At home. So guess what my belief is on follow-up? Right. It doesn't work. Okay, well, it's half right, but part of it's on you. You didn't teach me. Part of it's on me. I wasn't specific. All I have to do is change a floor log and say best daytime number, right? Next best. So that was the beginning of our change. So when you look at floor logs and see that, that's where that started. We changed everything and became very specific. Then we said, okay, we need daily marketing plans. Well, back then it was dot matrix, and it's like we're killing trees, but I had this picture. I wanted to turn salespeople into a business person. Well, they had 90 minutes, just like a workout. We got 90 minutes. We're not going to become super svelte and sexy and buff in 90 minutes. But if we, just like building a brick wall, if we do it daily, well, guess what? I can tell you already where you're going to end up. Right. You're going to like it.
That's right.
So that was Business Development Center. Phones, it was simple things like, example, mental drive on an incoming call.
And you started doing that at a dealership, or at that point you kind of did your own?
So I did that selling, first of all. So then when I was director of training operations, now I'm teaching it. So, when you start teaching stuff and you've done it, now you're refining it at a level, because you can watch your audience, you can watch how people are learning. Everything changes quick. So like a mental drive was an example of something I learned doing, and then I could teach. So I would tell everybody, I say, okay, let's say you've done a great job setting the appointment, but you're going to assume they know where you're located. So I said, you always want to say, by the way, do you know where we're located? And I tell the staff, I said, they're always going to say yes. They're on the phone. And say, great, so you'll be coming from, and I said, just hang the hum. Just say, so you'll be coming from, and what you'll find is they'll backpedal every time. And I said, at this time, they're shopping through newspapers and white pages, yellow pages. We didn't have the internet yet, but the internet, it still applies. And they go, oh, you guys are on the north side. Actually, we're on the west side. We're XYZ Toyota, not ABC Toyota. So where are you located again? Okay, so you'll want to take I-10, just go out towards Katy and exit McGill, like that. You got it? And you'll see us on the south side of the feeder. And when you pull up, there's plenty of parking right up front. Come in, ask for John. I'll already have a car set aside for us because I know what we're talking about already. So these are things, this was real simple. So it was establish business relationship, understand where the holes are. So those were, on the calls, I was big on keywords and phrases.
Really, at customer service, because now you were drilling down a little bit on what is it that you want.
Okay, let me show you something there. So customer service versus customer experience. You go, same thing, it's actually a little different. Customer service, I believe, is more reactive. So if we were missing that, we would ask for it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's responsive. That's customer service. But it comes out ahead, and he's now pushing us to eat. He's pushing the experience. See, so it's proactive. So to me, when you're in these calls today, your interactions with consumers, with clients, we're thinking ahead. Think about where you're taking friction out of the experience with your own clients. right? You and I were talking about something offline before we started. It was missing a logo. And you're thinking about the experience. Hey, guys, if you don't have this, we're going to need to be delayed, because without it, I can't make that piece of equipment. So you're thinking ahead. What you could do is wait till it's expired and they go, hey, where is it?
React.
Oh, remember, I still need that. That's service. So service is kind of like the minimum, but it won't really separate you. The experience says you've been thinking about their journey.
That's right.
And you're rolling out a red carpet.
Good.
Okay.
That's one we got to write down. That's very good. That's very good. All right. So then what?
Okay. So I actually go to work for this direct mail company for a little bit. I was desking deals on Saturdays in the stores, because I would go to the stores and work with the teams. And it was just my way of keeping credibility.
As
and
good auto guys,
sharp.
we're in this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah. You know, I wanted credibility with the gang, you know, so I'm taking turns and stuff. Well, they would see me working and they're like, hey, they wanted to hire me. So I go to work for these guys for 90 days and it's not the right fit. It's just not. And so I leave. So Dawn's like, what are you doing home? And I was like, well, I quit. And she said, you quit? So, but at this point, they wanted me to do this BDC concept that I was starting, and I had already started at Darrow. They wanted me to do it with direct mail events, like follow up on manifests and stuff like that. Well, I had 2 stores that I'd already started this with. And one was Sanford Honda in North Carolina. So Fred Borman was the astronaut. No, Frank Borman was the astronaut. Fred was his son. His son, Fred, owned the store in Sanford, just outside of Raleigh. And so I get the call from Dave Davis, his GM. John calls me at that. John, Dave Davis, Sanford Honda. I understand you left, blank, right? Said company. Yes, sir. John, we're going to do direct mail with said company, but we want to do this BDC thing with you. Okay. That was my first client. And then the other was Sterling McCall Toyota. And it was Kevin Whalen.
No kidding.
Yes. And he's like, and he's a great brother. Kevin's an amazing human being. He's like, brother, you have something. You have something. He said, the way you do it, what you do, tell me how I can help. What do we need to do? He said, we're ready, because I had done the basic training. I said, well, this is what you need to do. And so those are my first 2 accounts. So we're in the Midwest. We got one in North Carolina in the sticks. We got one in Houston, Texas. So we moved to Houston. That's how it started. And I founded Traver Technologies.
Right move.
Yep. And the first 6 or 8 months, it was a desert experience. Okay. I was kind of like, what did you do, dude? What did you do?
And Dawn, your wife, all in, she was like, let's do this.
She's working. We're living off of her income. She's making like 30 grand a year at the time. And I'm rubbing sticks together. Whatever we made, I spent on the next store. And there was so much more I was writing and building at the time. So I get into 93, and the beginning of 93, the phone rings. It's Toyota Motor Sales. It's Tony Fujita, VP Merchandising USA out of Torrance. And it basically is a short call, but he's like, hey, we see you in our top 25. We're doing a best practice study, and we may want to talk to you. It was really awkward, we may want to talk to you. Okay. And so I'm just like, please don't come to these offices. I'm in a rent-a-center. You know what I mean? It was like a rent-a-center. I had like just, it was 1,000 square feet.
Let me go
rental
there.
furniture.
Let me go there.
Please don't come here. So anyways, he calls like a month later. Hey, John Matt, VP of Sales, wants you to come out. So I fly out, meet with those guys. And they had some software, and they liked what I was doing with guest management system and tracking. And they saw the buying cycle turning. They were educated too. I think when you're in doubt, you need to zoom out.
Toyota was a great example.
Well, see, they did something that I like to talk about a lot, and that is when you're in doubt, zoom out. Sometimes we get stuck because we're too close to the screen. Like, okay, so like right now we're doing a retention effort with Traver Connect.
That's like, Terry Looper?
Yeah.
So Terry Looper in his book, what's his book? I forgot the name right now, but he has the point where don't do anything unless you're in neutral.
I love that.
Don't do it on drive.
Yeah.
Don't do it on reverse. Stop.
Yeah.
Don't make a decision unless you're on neutral, which is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Stop and pull back.
So I go to Toyota. We have the meeting. Then they say, hey, can you speak at the Cincinnati region in Traverse City, Michigan? Well, this is across the lake from where I grew up in Wisconsin. So I said, sure. So I go up there and I speak. They got, 150 dealers in that region. They come. I speak twice for an hour. on the principles of business development. So afterwards, literally, they're like, hey, these guys really, you seem to understand these guys. They like you. We're going to send you an RFQ. Do you have more material? I said, sure. And there's so much more I wanted to talk about and help implement and build this out. And so they said, okay, we'll send you an RFQ. Now, for the record, I didn't know what an RFQ was in that moment. Fortunately, on the document, it said request for quote on the top. So that was my first RFQ. So I get it.
That's great.
Fill it out, send it back to Toyota. And, you know, they said, okay, we want you to speak in like 14 cities. So that was the beginning of the Toyota tour. So I got to like city 9 or 10, and they kept adding cities. I did, this is true, 34 cities in 4 months. So I would do 2 cities, and I'd walk into a room, Ritz-Carlton, Scottsdale.
You and Rolling Stones.
Pretty much. I mean, they would get up there with a corporate guy, and then they'd introduce me as the expert in business development. It was my initial work. It was my copyright. I called it Business Development Center, not to slight anybody. I was trying to put polish on what we were doing. I was trying to update an outdated sales process. You have salespeople that are turning over, right? High levels. We don't talk intelligently on the phone. We're not embracing a longer buying cycle. Guys, we can do so much better if we just make a few adjustments. We put this thing in neutral. Let's make a few adjustments here. And so that's what the process was about. And I did that 4 years in a row with Toyota. They hired me 4 years in a row. So every year I'd go out and speak, and every year I would write another series, and it was all brand new. So it was like 101, 201, and so on. Well, you owned a Toyota store, but you had a Ford store, you had a Lexus store, you had a Mercedes store. And so, Arnold, there was a section of 4 or 5 years where literally, no exaggeration, we doubled in every metric you can think of, doubled 100% every year. It was, I just remember being a part-time construction guy. I mean, it kept adding offices, and all our trainers were in Houston. I required that because culture was really important to me. So we get to 2000. Prior to 2000, there were some overtures, some companies that wanted to buy us. John Holt had Cobalt at the time. John and I would be going to Toyota Lexus meeting. Hey, John, you know, see each other. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, he's got all this internet data. I got all this CRM data. They got the DMS data. This isn't good. This has all got to be in one place at some point. And so there were some overtures, some offers made stuff, and I was kind of like, no, I'm good. But I got to 2000, we did our first NADA. So I never did NADA except for speak.
Unbelievable.
I never did a booth.
Yeah.
Everything was just coming to us. Truly. Yeah, for 8 or 9 years. And so we do it, and Cobalt comes over and said, hey, John wants to meet with you. So I go meet with them, and he's like, hey, have you thought about this? I said, I have. So that was the beginning of it. ADP, back then it's CDK today, right. But ADP, I ended up hiring a company that does offering memorandum like this, you know, like Moby Dick, you know, and so that was a baptism for me. That was something new. And I had multiple opportunities, and ADP ends up buying the company. I felt like it was the safest way to allow this to grow again. So I'm going to stay at ADP for 3 years. I ended up staying 10. But at the end of year 3, before I knew they wanted me to stay, I went and bought another company here in Dallas, which today is, it's remote managed services for self-storage. We're in thousands of properties across the US. And then once I got that going and I was done at ADP in 2010, I started Traver Connect because I felt like there was a lot undone in the service side. I went to ADP in 2005 and I said, we need a service BDC. Let me build it. That's not really our sweet spot. 2014, they buy e-leads. So many moving parts in service, so many changes. There's so many good people in this industry have shed light on that space. It is such a critical part of our next 10 years. It's critical. We got to get it right.
Yeah.
Imagine life in 10 years without being effective at retaining what you sold.
Now it's warp speed, so imagine how craziness.
Correct.
I know we're going to join this food here in a minute, but 3 things you've learned. 3 things that, just give me a couple good and a couple bad that you learned throughout your career.
Well, I just think that, I think we have more who problems than what problems. Okay, people is the difference. You got a who problem before it's, if you have the same problem over and over and over, I'm telling you, it's not a what problem, it's a who problem. And that's a disservice to that person, by the way, too. Some of us get a little bit shy and we're like, oh man, but I care for. Yeah, you should care for that person. They only have a certain amount of time here on Earth. Get them in the right spot, or get them somewhere else where they're going to be properly aligned. But you got more who problems than what problems. I think that's one. Two, the other thing that I see is we are gagging on data and information. And so I think it takes wisdom to know what to pay attention to, how to interpret it. Don't believe everything you read. I also think it takes decorum. Like what I'm working on today on myself is the ability to go across the aisle when somebody has the absolute opposite view as I do and be able to ask them, okay, I'm new to planet Earth, take me through this. How did you arrive where you're at? With sincerity, you know, and but what I'm also trying to elicit from them is the same. Because best ideas should win.
That's right. And we should hear them all. And the best idea wins. For sure, 100%. What's your favorite car?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Now, I've watched every episode but one. Mine's going to be a little different. You ready?
Yeah.
1974 Ford Pinto wagon.
No,
Pinto wagon.
Oh my God.
Okay. You ready?
Yes.
Okay, here's the backstory. First of all, it was my first car.
Okay.
My first car.
Sentimental.
Yep. Number two, it was $500. It was all I could afford. So it taught me humility. I didn't want to drive a Pinto wagon. Are you kidding me?
Who wanted to drive a Pinto? Yeah.
Number three, it was like what I thought. It was clean as a pin. So I thought I was getting this value. I would pull into the gas. That thing leaked oil like a sieve. The rear main is bumped up against the firewall and you couldn't get to it. And seriously, I pulled up the gas station. I would fill up oil and check the gas. Okay, it was the opposite, you know. So I spent more money on 10 weight 30 oil than if I had known you would have made a mint. So, anyways, I love that car. But my other thing about that car was my first year at the high school that I transferred to. I went to the seminary my first year and a half. Okay, and then I ended up going to McCall High School, and so my buddies welcomed me. And thank you, sir.
Sorry about that.
And my buddies, they're driving alongside my car, and it's after school, and they're, hey, how's it going? And I knew they had been up to something. Let me finish the story. This is worth it. So I get to my car, and they had taken night crawlers, with the They had poured it all over my windshield, and so during the day it baked on my windshield. So I was determined to get them back. So I worked. Oh my goodness.
Excuse me.
Oh, y'all, let me just apologize right now that you guys aren't here.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, this is best in class.
Incredible.
These guys forgot more about cooking beef and meat than most people know. Okay, so
Tell Shelby to come out.
So the windshield, so I worked at a meat market, and on Mondays are slaughter days. So I took some animal remains, including some bone that was sharp. I'll save the viewers the detail. If I see a one-off, I'll tell you the actual story. And I decorated their car. And so when they found out during band practice, so I had a guy that carpooled with me. I told him, I said, Phil, if you're not at the car, I'm gone. You better take the bus. So I run out to the car, and here comes Phil. And all of a sudden I see Scott and Brad running. Well, by the time everybody got there, I start pulling out. They grabbed that sharp bone, boomeranged it, shattered my windshield. So I couldn't see out of it. So I had to take it out. I drove to school with shop goggles on until it snowed. Yeah, that's a true story.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I would always have 2 pair of shop goggles hanging on the stick shift, for me and my guest. And we would just drive without a windshield.
Listen, the fact that your Pinto was the best one.
Hey man,
that is.
I've been blessed to drive some nice cars since.
But
that one
the
sticks
first
out.
one always has a memory, right?
Yeah.
What's your favorite place to travel?
I would say right now it's Jackson Hole. We're going to go to Italy next year. I think that's going to be right up there on top of the list.
Is it the first time in Italy?
Yes. Yeah, will you coach me up?
I will.
Okay.
And I'll give you a couple of suggestions and even tour guides.
Awesome.
Yeah, you'll love it.
Mr. Dale, Shelby.
Can I crash the men's meeting?
I hope so.
Listen,
I'm going to get in trouble with your dad if we don't start eating.
Your dad
Eat 'em all
kept
time.
coming behind us like, are you going to eat or what?
Yes.
So you know where I'm reaching
By the
first.
way, let me just say this. So, John, thank you for being on our show. Thank you for picking Texas Restaurant. Dale, thank you for letting us be here. Shelby, thank you for letting us be here.
We're honored.
The original and the next generation. to do this. Thank you for the tour of the kitchen. The culture that I have found out as I'm here, as I've met the kitchen staff, and Dale took me to see Ozzy, who's been with them for 40 years. And then you presented me somebody that has been here for 30 years. So when you go around a place and you see people that have been with you forever, they followed you from one place to another, they stuck with you, you know you have the right culture. You're the daughter, so you're gonna kind of stick, you gotta kind of stick by. But Ozzy, 40 years,
that's longer than I've been on this earth.
Hey, for those that are watching, if you've heard of Del Frisco's, that's his namesake, essentially. He created that. They sold it here in Dallas to basically a BC, right? Was it big? It was some guy in New York.
Sold it to Lone Star.
Okay.
Lone Star Steakhouses. Yep. In 1995.
This Bang Bang shrimp, I haven't tasted anything like this anywhere. Is this half New Orleans, half something else? Is that the idea?
Who came up with this recipe for the shrimp, Dale?
He did.
Dale's like, I'm going to eat while you guys talk.
He's eating. Everything you see in this building is inspired from Dad's mind right there.
So is this some of the recipe that he's had for a long time?
Yes. Yeah. Onion rings. You name it.
I'm going to tell you something. That shrimp is incredible.
It is unbelievable.
It's got the right amount of spice. It's got the right amount of sweetness.
So we've been sitting here yakking. I know what he's thinking. Yeah, if you guys would have started eating 10 minutes ago, that's what you're thinking, right? Yeah, see? Because that's the perfectionist. So we moved here in 2013. Our daughter's 16th birthday party, who just got married, should be 26 this November. We had upstairs here with y'all. That was back in 2013, I think. But I'd come here 3 or 4 times. And every time I got the filet, and the filet was a 10. So I had one of your waiters one night, and I said, okay. I said, I got to pick your brain. I said, what's the story here? And he said, sir? And I said, the consistency of these fillets is ridiculous. And this is what he said. You'll appreciate this. Try not to smile too big. He said, let me tell you about our owner. He said, I've watched Dale turn back an entire delivery of meat, prime, because it didn't make the cut. He said it starts there. And I said, I heard everything I need to hear. It's the quality and the consistency, and this is not a change.
Well, you know that a restaurant owner knows what he's doing. He's got his act together. When he tells me before the show starts, come look in my kitchen. And he tells Ozzy, what is Ozzy's position? Is he the head chef? What is he? He runs the kitchen. He runs the kitchen.
Who's not family that helps run this show.
Okay, so he's the non-family kind of family, runs the show.
Yes.
He takes me on a tour of every corner of the kitchen because it was spotless, it was clean, everybody knew what they were doing. 3 lines. I mean, I even know their lines now, right? These 2 broilers work. When we have a party, the 3rd one kicks on.
Exactly.
I mean, I got the whole tour. But my point is, that's the organization he runs, is that he's going in there and say, look, open the hood and take a look. Because I know you're going to love it. It's spotless.
Cleanliness, 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 he says.
The whole, family. How much of the family's involved here, besides the 2 of you? Your husband, I think, works here?
My husband's the kitchen manager. He helped build this place. Yes, my sister is a big part. My mother does all these gorgeous flowers you see. She's also the neck that controls that head right there.
Yep.
Need I say more?
Yep.
My brother-in-law, my brother, the whole gang.
So how many family members?
7.
So it's the 5 immediate, and then we sucked the 2 in-laws in.
They count.
So
they
5
count.
siblings? 5 siblings?
So I have 2 siblings. There's 5 of us total, and then 7 of us. I think my husband and my brother-in-law.
So the transference and the perpetuity that, he embodied, his story, I don't know if you remember when we had the client appreciation event upstairs.
By the way, now I know why he was telling us to eat this so fast. That is so good.
It is,
what is this quail?
Those are quail legs. Yep.
Yeah.
Man, let me tell you something. Delicious. He kept coming behind us going, are you going to eat this or what?
Hey, Shel.
Yes.
Did he, when he opened the door for you guys to be involved, Did you have to force it? Were you guys?
No, not at all. Call it meant to be. Your timing was.
You wanted
everything.
to be in it?
Yeah,
You wanted to be into it because you saw it, you grew up in it, and you were waiting for it, or
No,
why?
I just kind of played out. You know, I had just finished my first year of college. You know, we opened in the summer, and had, you know, and part of the process of this going up, and I wanted a summer job, and the rest is history. I never went back and had been here since.
And I think I heard Dale, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I heard Dale say, I mean, he had Del Frisco, sold it, very successful. Then it didn't maybe necessarily have to get in the restaurant business again. But if I heard your story correctly, you wanted to do it for your kids. Was that right? He wanted something for the kids.
The kids,
Yeah, the kids run the place.
they own it.
Own the place. Own the place.
Here's one more piece. We're doing dinner. This is early on, first year. And I see you walking around every time. 7, 8 o'clock, you're touching tables. So in the car business, that's a dealer who's hands-on. And those that are watching this, they can relate to that. You follow me? This guy, he does lubricants for automotive around the world. And he's hands-on. I love that. Being an entrepreneur, that's really important to me, that you're still in touch with what's going on. And it can be of any size, but it's important to you. It was very obvious to me. And then who's our magician?
Oh, Sam the Magic Man.
Sam.
I've seen him too.
Yes. he's
Yeah, you
amazing.
have.
You know,
Yeah, you
we've-
have.
We've been here 12 years. He's been with us 11 of those 12.
He is amazing. He is amazing. They're still wondering
gotta
how he
eat the
pulled
meat.
off some of what he pulled off. Yeah, we're going to start passing the meat. Let's do that.
All right.
Wow. Incredible, yo.
This looks great.
Yeah. So he did a piece with a guy named Troy Duhan, who has a bunch of dealerships around the country.
There you go.
And Troy grew up, well, his house in New Orleans was right next to Emerald. Literally next door neighbors, I think, right?
Next door neighbors cooked animals. They cooked together in his kitchen.
There you go. There you go. So I'm sure you've probably crossed paths at some point with some of these guys. Dale's story is the classic entrepreneur story. He didn't start out as a restaurateur. He started out trying other things, and I think the word determined pretty much sums up the journey.
He started out as
Right?
a waiter.
Started out in the insurance business.
Insurance business.
That's right.
Well, that's a customer service business.
Can you get it?
Yeah,
You got it? There you go.
He used to sell Bibles door to door back in
You got it? Go ahead and grab that one. I'll grab this one.
In Chicago?
Yep, back in Chicago.
In the Windy City.
Thank
Wow.
you. That's my job.
Well, look,
Wow.
you guys gave us the
You're a
rest.
gentleman. Thank you.
What do we have here?
That's our Delmonico. That's a center cut ribeye right there.
What would
Okay. So let her tell you about the Delmonico because it is signature steak.
It is,
delicious.
yeah, that's our USDA prime center cut ribeye right there. We cut all of our tenders in this house. Some of the greatest beef coming out of the Midwest. Is the greatest beef, really, if I say so myself.
It was what? It has to what?
I-80.
North of
Has to
I-80.
come from north of I-80.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
I-80 cuts through Iowa.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. See, nobody else would know that but you.
So
Nobody else would know that from you, right?
finished on corn or yeah.
Well, I gotta tell you. So you have the Monaco,
Delmonico.
Delmonico,
And that's our filet mignon.
filet mignon,
That's our redfish.
redfish. That's a
Working
huge
my
redfish.
way there.
Fresh, right out of the Gulf.
So you ship that in on the regular.
Yes, every day.
Wow.
There's a seafood
Your
truck.
your
there.
dad told me how great you are with customers.
She is.
That you touch every table, and touching, he doesn't mean, hey, how's your food? I mean, he literally told me this. She goes around, or I taught her to do at least this.
Yeah.
Like, make sure they
Hey, I
know.
see you there.
That's right. You see.
You're putting a bite of steak in your mouth, but I see you, yes.
Does
he's
a good
biased.
job, right? Why would he? Because you're his daughter? No, I don't think
I'm his
so.
baby, too. I'm the baby.
Is that right?
I'm the baby.
Well, you're obviously doing something right.
I appreciate that. I love what I do, so.
What made you pick this location? It worked out pretty well. But when you landed here, there probably wasn't a whole lot going on. You bought 17 acres.
Developed it.
Saw that. Most of this is you, right? Yeah. So you just came out far enough and figured eventually everybody would be here.
So you left a little piece of the corner for you.
Left the corner for me.
Actually for the kids.
I said, what am I going to do with it? Didn't take me long to figure that out.
Yep.
You did what you know how to do best.
Wow.
I think, people come here, the food is delicious. I mean, the shrimp, the fish, everything I've tasted has been incredible. But I think that part of coming here is coming to see you. I think I've only been here twice, and Dale's always here.
1,000%, yep.
And I think people come here for him, and I know that he is passing the baton on, which is fantastic. I have a son in my business too, so I get it. But it's just neat to come to a restaurant this size, this magnitude, with this kind of food. The owner is still here, touching people, like you say, and the daughter right behind him, as well as the team. But you know what I mean. It's
Please, I'm so proud of it.
it pleases me, and I tell you what, I know it pleases your customers. It's fantastic.
If he's not here,
Primer,
it puts
the
people in a
redfish.
frenzy.
Where's that guy?
Exactly.
Don't have to tell me twice. I ordered this every time I come in. If not 9 times out of 10, 10 times.
So this is a plate you ordered?
No,
Oh,
this filet. By the way, that Delmonico was killer. I almost can't stop eating it. I worked my way to the redfish. What do we do with the tomatoes? A little olive oil or something, or just season lightly?
Simple salt, pepper, little parsley.
Nice. Okay. Good. By the way, my bride says to say hi.
Aw.
To both of you.
Please
Okay?
tell him to say hi.
You bet.
how long have you been coming here?
10 years.
And you've been up for 12, 13?
12.
She was here.
So
Yeah.
you've been
He's
here
been coming.
pretty much since it
Yes.
opened up.
Yeah.
He's a big fan, I know that.
Well,
And I am
he
too.
got us
And I
through
am.
thick and thin. I thank you. Thank you.
How was 2020? How did you guys handle 2020?
You know what? We just didn't stop. That's the truth. Even when we were shut down, we took it as an opportunity to,
Yeah, 3 weeks on it.
yeah,
That's
got
it?
this place,
What we did, we
redid the flooring, touched the whole place up. We just kept going. And we've got a great base of regulars who really kept us alive. Whether it was curbside to-go food or
That's
they
great.
were here the moment we opened our doors. So
It's amazing when you give good service, when you touch every table like your dad says, when you do all of this stuff. In hard times, people come together.
yeah,
And they remember that, and they come and they buy and they take care of each other. They don't forget you. They take care of each other.
Like,
wouldn't have put my fork on it.
are you gonna try some of the redfish?
Absolutely.
Or are you playing shy?
No, I grabbed a little bit. I grabbed a little bit earlier, but
I would
I'm
need-
doing whatever Dale tells me to do.
Because I would need to fingerprint you.
We're all family here, right?
No, you're not.
I've said this story before, and I'll tell you. I go to China. I do business in China, and obviously they eat a little bit different than us.
Yep.
And so when I go to China, I say this, I do think they do this on purpose to me. They try to give me some of the most craziest food. So I love food. I eat well. I'm in China and they give me these crabs, but they're not going to eat the crab. They're opening it up and you eat the orange guts inside.
Oh,
Oh, well.
well, that's different.
Yes. So my excitement went down a little bit when they did that, and I ate, to honor them and not to offend.
What was it they wanted you to eat?
The orange guts inside the crab. Yes, Dale, I agree. So I ate it, and then my customer says, "Well, here, have another one." Opens it up. I eat it. So when he goes to give me the third one, I go, "No, I'm full. Thank you very much." And I can only think these guys looking at me going, "This big fat guy, how can it be full with 2 little guts from crabs?"
Have you
But
ever-
I
have you
swear,
ever
I think they're doing it on purpose. I
have you
really
ever
do.
dove hunted?
No.
So the first time someone takes you dove hunting, they try and get you to eat the heart of the first dove. And it's basically a ruse. I think they took you dove hunting.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah, I think it was how many of these could we get them to eat?
Well, that's quite an initiation.
Yeah. So anyways, words out, those dove hunters out there, just so you know. Yeah.
Well, now I know. Now I know.
Yeah, amazing.
Shelby, what's your favorite car?
My favorite car? Well, I'd like to say it's a Shelby, and that I'll be Shelby driving.
That's kind of why I asked you, right?
No, not quite yet. I'll be Shelby driving a Shelby one day. But
Is that why your dad named you Shelby, or is there a story behind Shelby?
I do. I was about to say I've got a Lexus ICE 350. I love it.
But why the name Shelby?
Why the name Shelby? Because of Shelby Lynn, the country singer. She came on the radio one day, right? And they said, that's it?
That's the one.
That's the one.
That's the name.
And then Rose is a family name. Shelby Rose. You get a lot of roses in the family.
Yeah, me too, Dale. I mean, incredible.
Tapping out.
And I do think that part of the experience is YouTube.
Yeah.
And that's important,
Appreciate
right?
that.
You know,
Yes,
if I lived here and came here every Friday night, I want to see you guys. You know, you're part of the family.
We want to see you too, you know what I mean?
There you go. Well, look, guys, I appreciate you guys opening this place up.
Oh, we're humbled.
Thank you for this delicious food. John, thank you for your story, for being a friend. Love you, buddy. Guys, thank you.
Cheers, thank you.
Appreciate it. Cheers.
Sure is.
Thank you for listening to Wheels, Deals, and Meals, your main source for all things good and fun, business, food, and cars. If you like this episode, make sure to rate us and subscribe. If you would like to be a guest on our show, please leave a message at the link below. Till next time, happy eating.